Welcome, family. This is your show indeed, your weekly rendezvous. And it is my pleasure to have you here this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are located in the world, um, as I have a very special guest, um, a big brother, uh, a mentor, another one, and a DJ's DJ, a veteran in the game, a man that can fearlessly cross genres, take you places spiritually, rhythmically, with so much grace and so much finesse in the way he even transitions from tracks to tracks, genres to genres, from disco, soulful, Afro, Latin, etc., etc., etc. Mr. Louis Lou Gorbea, a big brother whom I am extremely pleased to bring to the floor for you today indeed. Monday Quality Talks. As I said, your weekly rendezvous every Monday is at 9:30 p.m. GMT. Um, and it's a pleasure to have you, my beloved Bodhists, the Shatter Gang, and everyone joining us for the first time. Please make sure you sit back, relax, make yourself comfortable, get yourself some tea, smoke a cigar, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. Because we're about to take you on a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful exchange. And without further ado, let me bring up the big brother, Mr. Louis Lou Gorbea, also known very affectionately as Lou Gorbea. Big Papa, what it do?
Boddhi,
Blessings, 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 blessings. Ashe.
it's always good to see you, my brother. Always.
Always,
It's
always.
been a while, but we always stay in communication.
Always,
You know?
man. Always. It's a must. It's a must. It's a
Yes.
must. How have you been? How is life out there in Puerto Rico?
No, actually, it's pretty good, believe it or not. I've been out here. It's it's beautiful. There's nothing I can say. Unfortunately, we're going through this pandemic,
Yeah.
but you can still feel, the energy on the island. The beaches, the air, the clean air. The
Yeah, you should
people,
you
the
should have done
food.
this live from the outside, man. We should have seen the landscape behind you.
Yeah, that's very true. If I were to show you the outside of my house, it's like a jungle out there. It's
Mm,
nothing but
mm.
vegetables and fruit trees out there, and it's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous surrounding. I wish I could have done it earlier in life, but things have to play, fall into play.
That's right. That's right. Well, soon enough, hopefully, as borders open and we start to try to get back to some form of normalcy, hopefully, I'll be able to, jump on a plane and get to you some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Let me welcome those who are joining us right now. Sister Desiree Barcelo, what's going on? Long time. So good to see you connected
Yes,
now. Please, family, make sure you share the link to this
absolutely.
live. If you are fans of Mr. Lugo Bea and myself, or just appreciate who we are as humans, please, do feel free to bring in more people to join us. The more the merrier. Papa Lou, come
It,
on now. Bring us right into it. Let's not even waste no time. Tell us the story of the man that we have here. I'm kind of speaking at the third person, but clearly you're a veteran in the game. You're a DJ's DJ. I mean, there's so many stories we're about to tell tonight that many don't even know about, and how we have actually
yes,
connected, and the beautiful, beautiful um, contribution you've had in my career and in my access to some people in this game. And before we even get there, some people don't know who you are. So allow me to ask you to please give them a little bit of a review of who is Mr. Lou Gorbea.
well, Gorbea, let's see. It's a long story. It started a long, 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 long time ago. Actually, I started as a dancer, believe it or not, in the clubs, And from dancing, I went into programming music, and then from programming music, I went into clubs. Then after the clubs, I went into producing, and you know, that's
Can,
how it all started.
can we
You
at
know,
least
I
disclose some
went to like
dates?
some of the major.
Can we have an idea of the era and time, please? Because you've been there in some of the most important times of disco and house music, the birth of it all. Like, please, we know, but teach them, teach them, teach them. Don't hold up, don't hold back.
Well, actually, the first time I ever stepped into a club was a club called the Ice Palace that was on 33rd Street and the West Side Highway. It was actually in a in ice skating ring,
That's in New
and
York.
they
That
had
was in New York.
that's in New York, Manhattan. That was the first time I ever stepped into a club, and the sound and the dance floor was actually a huge stage in the middle of the ice rink, and everybody would be dancing on the stage in the middle of the ice rink, and the sound system was just incredible. And that sort of like drew me into like, wow, it's like a whole new world for me. And from there, I just started go venturing out to other clubs, other clubs like Nicky Siano's Gallery, of course, Larry Levan, the Paradise Garage, which I was a garage head, I guess you would say, because I was constantly there like every weekend. First, then I would go to David Mancuso's loft, and then from the loft I would go to the garage, and it would go back and forth. I go to both clubs in one night. But
Oh man.
Paradise Garage was like my Saturday and Sunday home. You know, you would get there. I used to get there at about 11 o'clock when the guys were cleaning up and Larry was tuning the system and everything. So I was like the first one there. I didn't want to miss like one song. So,
Wow.
and you would stay until about 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was just that intense, you know.
And tell us a
David
little bit about
Mancuso's.
before we go to David Mancuso, please let's. I think it's very important to get really in the thick of it when it comes to Larry Levan and really explain maybe a little bit better why these names represent so much for the culture, for the music. As you said yourself, you wouldn't want to miss a single song that he would actually play. Why? So I want to talk. I want to understand why is he? Why was he so important? Why are those names so important? Why was the sound so important? The music, etc. Can you please just visually take us into this whole experience?
Well, going to the garage, let's just say, for example, once you walk in, you walk up to a ramp, and it was almost like a runway, an airplane runway, where the lights would just zoom up into the cashier. So you'd walk up this runway, and as you're walking up the runway, you would hear the sound system come through the walls. Once you got up to the top, you paid your money to get in. You would go into the bathrooms. They had like little changing rooms where you would change into comfortable clothes to dance in. You would go in, change your clothes, then you go into the main room. I myself have never, ever, ever experienced any kind of sound system as the Paradise Garage. Even today, I've been
Wow.
to some major clubs. Sound
Mhm.
systems are superb, but there was just something about the sound system at the Paradise Garage. As soon as you got onto the dance floor, the bass was so intense that your clothes would actually shake while you was on the dance
Crazy,
floor, and
crazy.
you would feel the energy through your bones. And I don't know. I guess I just fell in love with that feeling, and so did everybody else that went to the Paradise Garage. You know, so that was to me that was like the climax of party, uh, my party going. Okay, not to mention the people that went there. You had like some of the best dancers that went to the Paradise Garage as well, and you actually went there and you just released. You let go and you forget about your problems. You forget about everything, and you just got lost into the music. It was,
And
and
in
I was
comparison, go ahead, go sorry.
no, I was just like I said, I'm sure I felt that way, and I'm sure many, many, many other people felt the same way. You
I
know?
believe there's a beautiful documentary. I don't know if it's, I can't find it on YouTube, Maestro, which
Yeah,
was a
Maestro.
dope documentary. I don't know why they took it off, or why it's
Right,
not
right,
available
right,
even on Netflix, because it should be.
right,
But,
right.
yo, uh, so, so what about now the Studio 54? Was any of these crowds mixing or completely different crowd, completely different kind of sound? Or what was that about,
Well,
that era?
actually, when the garage closed, a lot of people started going to other clubs and exploring other, situations. Studio 54 was one of them. Larry used to play. I guess he played a couple of times at Studio 54, and of course, the people from the garage, his following would go. It was good. Uh, Sound system was good, but like I said, can't take it from Paradise Garage. That was like the ultimate right there. And the
Hmm.
party was good. The energy of the people, would be there, and the party went on. Studio 54 had a fantastic light show. That I have to give to them because it was intense. Yeah, it was a really good light show.
Wow, man.
But the energy just wasn't there as King Street. You know, totally different setting.
Interesting. And now, so now we go to the loft. Dave Mancuso, what's up?
Yes.
Like, take us there. Like, let's visually project ourselves.
Well, the loft, let's just say it was like a big house party. I'm talking about somebody's house, okay? Uh,
Wow.
the sound system in there was intense just as well. Uh, Back then in the day when you were younger, of course, you took a little enhancement, you know, uh,
I guess that
took
was
a,
mandatory.
a toke of a joint, or
A little
I
something,
really
something.
don't want to. I don't want to put it out there, but let's just say that it was,
There was
enhanced
a
by
lot of
by
fun.
chemicals. Yeah, yeah. I have to say I was victim to that as well. You know,
Well, I
I
guess we
ain't
all have to
ashamed of it.
learn.
Yeah, I ain't ashamed of it. Oh, and
So
the
what was?
sound. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
was
The
gonna
the
say.
music.
Mhm.
Yeah, the music with David Mancuso was so unique. He wasn't a mixer. He never mixed his music. He would play one record after another,
Mhm.
and in between each record, after people danced to it, they would stop and they would clap and they applaud because his selection was just over the top. He really played some stuff that you would just look up and you would say, "Holy shit, what is this?"
Mhm.
And it was too much. And the people clapping and dancing, and he had food that was being served. You can eat, you can chill out in the corner on the pillows. You can go to the first
Damn.
floor, the second floor. It was like one huge house party. The way he had each week that you would go, David Mancuso would situate the speakers differently every week.
Wow.
At one time, he would put everything up against one wall, and then he would another time he would come and put four corners. He just the way he said it acoustically, it just sounded amazing. It was just amazing. Yeah. And that was another experience that you'll never forget. You'll never forget. Nobody, they recaptured that feeling. It's uh, it's a shame, but I was actually one that was able to appreciate it. And so many others just as well. But I was fortunate enough to be there and experience it.
And what about the sound system? Like who was manufacturing the sound system? Like what like I mean, we're getting a little bit technical for some people who are not necessarily like into this kind of conversations. That's a bit geeky, maybe, but it's important because I just want to emphasize on the fact that for some of the viewers of the show who are not necessarily house heads or don't necessarily understand the culture or the sound or even the overall spirituality around it, and a lot of you are now starting to get used to it and to understand. But now we're having a privy access to some very precious information from somebody who was there and and,
Right,
and, and,
right.
ex- and witnessed it live and direct. So these are the questions you want to ask. And so, since I know you were so well versed into really studying the whole technique aspect of it as well, besides just the spiritual experience you had, what about the sound system was so unique? And um, who was actually responsible for the sound system at the Paradise Garage or the Loft, for example?
Well, the Paradise Garage, of course, it was Richard Long. I was fortunate enough to meet Richard Long actually at his studio where he built the cabinets. Because back in the day, I used to work for a record pool called IDRC. So then what I would do is I went down, actually met Larry at Richard Long's studio, and I actually got to see the cabinets that he was putting together. I actually saw the brochures and everything. As far as the loft is concerned, I don't know who manufactured it, but I know it was Clipshaw. Okay, the sound system was just, yeah, just as intense. It wasn't Paradise Garage power, but the clarity that David Mancuso had at the loft, everything was just crystal clear, crystal clear. Let's just say, for example, I'm going to jump a few years ahead. I did a boat ride once, and I was doing these boat rides down at South Street Seaport because I worked for a boat company. We had invited David Mancuso down because he was going to be the featured DJ, but he wanted to bring in his sound, his turntables. He wanted everything situated. Let's just
Yeah.
say that when he came and we did a dry run, uh, it kind of tripped me out because he came with like 5 glasses filled with water, and he situated those glasses on the dance floor so that there was an even balance in the water in the glasses. And that's how he knew what the sound would uh, be translated into. And when I saw
Wow.
that, I was like, this guy is incredible. He's incredible. And then, of course, he had these special needles. You couldn't ask him too much because he was like, I
Very.
want to say a mad scientist, but he knew his craft. That I have to give him. He knew his craft. Yeah.
So,
Let's see
all
if
right.
this is working.
It's got to be working, Papa. So hold on now. So now, if we're moving all the way down to Shelter, Club Shelter, Timmy Ridgefoot, Sting International, Freddie Sanon, like that sound as well. Also, was supposed to be super, 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 super dope as well.
Right, right. Actually, I rarely went to the shelter. I did go on occasions, but the party that I always went to was Body and Soul. I was there religiously on Sundays. Uh, I was fortunate enough to be friends with Ariel, Ariel the Light Man.
Hmm.
And I used to go with Ariel, and I used to sit in the booth every Sunday, and I just used to watch the guys at work. That was just, I don't know how to explain it. The guys, the three of them together, the chemistry was just incredible. The crowd was intense. The sound system was intense just as well.
So the three of them would be Timmy Ridgefoot, Ariel, and then Sting.
No, it was Joe Cosell, Danny Krivit, and Francois K. That was Body and
All
Soul.
right. Now
That
we're
was
talking
Body
body
and
and
Soul.
soul, right? Yes,
Yeah,
sir. All right.
that was my party. That was my party. Uh, like I said, the sound, that was I want to say that was the closest that I've been to a club that sounded like Paradise Garage. And it was many years after the garage closed that, when you walk into a place and you're like, I'm finally home. That was
Yeah.
Body and Soul. That was Body and Soul.
So it was more the actual experience of Body and Soul more than the actual venue, or was it a combination of both? I mean, of everything together.
Well, it was the same venue. What happens was Shelter was on Saturdays, Body and Soul was on Sundays.
Every
I
Sundays.
would go on Sundays.
Wow,
Every
man.
Sunday I was there. Just about. Yeah.
Damn.
And like I said, I would sit in the booth with Ariel and I just watch the guys, do their magic. And it was just a sight, to see. These guys, the chemistry
I can
these guys
imagine.
had together, the chemistry they had together was just incredible.
Well, I had the chance to witness Body and Soul in Belgium. In I don't know if it was
Mm.
Ghent. I think it was Ghent. They brought Body and Soul there, and it was just a very special night. I had never experienced it live and direct, and I have got to
Right.
say that even though the sound system was nowhere near as as great as what you may have found at Shelter or any other clubs of that magnitude, um, the experience still was
Yeah. Right.
absolutely
Yeah.
just energy, just seeing them, the three of them together. And it's very interesting because they really bring totally different energies, but they kind of all blend in very, very
Yes.
superbly together, you know.
Exactly. Mm.
And obviously, I mean, you can't even deny the fact that you're taken to a different space spiritually, emotionally, when you witness those guys, spinning. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, I've seen guys people in general, I've seen people on the dance floor hugging each other and crying and just losing it, going to a
Yeah,
different place. They
yeah,
weren't in that particular place. They would just go somewhere else. Yeah,
yeah.
it was good. It was good. It's a shame that that party closed down too. Especially at that room. That room acoustically was set like perfectly for the sound.
Man, 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 man. Let's greet some of our viewers. Tara, thank you very much. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Please don't be shy, family. Make sure you show some love via the super chat, super stickers here on YouTube, or you can actually make donations via PayPal. This is your weekly show. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Very important. And so, as we are, talking of all these different experiences that you've had, at which point did you really start embracing your actual gift and your actual calling as a music composer? Because did you start with DJing first, or was it all kind of like happening around the same time for you?
No, actually, I was a DJ first. I used to play at small little parties here and there in Jersey and New York. Uh,
Okay.
let's just say that with the experience that I had listening to music, the way it was delivered, uh, the sound, your selection, all of that, my influence came from the Loft, Paradise Garage, Body and Soul.
Except that you were
Those were
mixing the
all
tracks, you were not just playing them
influences.
one by one.
Right, but it was the selection that was really important,
Of course.
But those were all my influences, and I started during Body and Soul. I started doing other gigs. I used to do a party out in Brooklyn
Hmm.
called Destiny. It was a nice little room in Destiny. The sound system was really nice. We used to, at that time, I was promoting the club and I was DJing as well. But I would bring in guest DJs.
All right.
Let's say, for example, you had Danny Krivet. Actually, Pastor Kev was one of the DJs.
Hmm.
Let's see, Louis Vega did a party there with us. Really, really outrageous. That actually, we had so many people in there that we had to close the door. That's how many people showed up to it.
Wow. What
Yeah.
was the capacity of the venue?
The capacity actually was 3 floors, and
Okay.
I think it was like 800 people. And there was so many people on that top floor uh, dancing that you actually felt the dance floor bouncing.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
that was kind of scary.
I
It
bet.
was scary, but no, those parties were intense. They were really good parties. Uh, Who else did we have there? It's just a lot of DJs. I did that for about a good 4 years. That was in Brooklyn. Ideal Space. Actually, I drive by there every now and then. It's a pizzeria now, so it's like, oh, I remember that. It was good parties there. You know, it's a shame we didn't know each other back then. I would have dragged you in there as well. That would
Most
have been
definitely.
that would have been a party.
Which takes me we're getting there. So we're building the storyline so people can see the perspective a little bit. But so then now Cielo, legendary Cielo.
Okay.
I want you to elaborate on that whole experience, that whole Cielo feeling, what made Cielo what it became. Yeah, man. Just yeah. Go ahead.
Well, you were part of the Cielo family as well. You did parties there as well.
Yes,
The
with Louis.
sound system was unique. Uh,
It was.
I found it to be really small as far as the dance floor, but yeah, it was a
Mhm.
big enough room. You had a nice party. Uh, I used to go on Wednesdays once in a while. I stopped going to Cielo because every time I would come out, my car was towed.
Oh shit.
So I stopped going to Cielo. But the times that I did go, it was a hot party, and you had all the heads there, and it was on a Wednesday, which was the unique part about it. Usually people would go out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but Wednesday people would go to Cielo. Yeah, yeah.
That was Roots, right? Louis Vega,
That
Kevin
was
Edge, right?
that was Louis at Roots and Kevin Hedge. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah, yeah.
Wow,
Great parties.
I can definitely testify to that. One of the most amazing experience, and the who's who of the industry will be there. I mean,
Absolutely.
for the young, I mean, the young guy that I was, the kid coming in, and being surrounded by all these greats like yourself, Louis, Frankie Feliciano. You had Danny Krivit there. You would see like everyone, man. It
Yeah,
was just it was something,
it
something.
was an industry party. You had people that would come from all over. People that came in from
Yeah,
Italy.
yep.
People that came to New York from Italy would stop at Cielo. People that came in from France, everywhere that knew about music, wherever they came from, they would definitely go to Cielo.
Supposedly, Lady Gaga used to go to Cielo to the Roots event. Actually, when before
Really?
she broke, yeah, before she became big.
Wow, look at that. Well, I
Hmm.
wouldn't. I wouldn't recognize her. If she went now, I'd recognize her. But back then,
For sure.
I wouldn't recognize her.
Which then takes me to how we actually met, and wow, this kindred spirits connection.
Yes.
I have got to say to a lot. So I had the pleasure and honor to have Papa Shula Day last week on the show, and spoke of how much of an influence and contributor he's been for my growth as an artist, also in the industry, but even more so as a human. Um, but it's even utterly important for me to have you on the show because you have played a massive, massive role in creating the connections on a much more solid ground between Louis Vega and myself. I
Okay.
had done a release with Mr. V, which was a remix of an artist called V featuring Jill Scott that actually was a originally came out on BBE. Shout out to Peter Adakwa, and it
Okay.
was It was a song called Born Again. So I did a remix of that, sent it to Mr. V, whom I had met at a club, also famous venue in Brussels that closed now. Big shout out to Sedina, the Living Room in Brussels, legendary venue. And so I sent it to Mr. V. He loved it, asked me to send him all the stems for him to do a proper mix down and add like some, arrangements to it. Sent it to Louis. They released it. Nothing really came out of that, but eventually we're linked. And you actually are responsible for also introducing me to the French twins, who obviously now are, just like you, family thicker than blood.
Yes,
And
yes.
you've made the link with Louis. You're like, yo, Bodhi, your music is just so unique. Like, what's up? And you made that link
Well,
happen, and
well,
this
it
is
was a
history.
sound. I have to give it to you. You have a sound. When I first heard it, it just blew me away. Just blew me
Thank you.
away. I always told you that every time you do a track, what do I always say? Where did you get that kick from? You always
Hmm.
have like the perfect kick to all your songs. And
Thank you.
when I first heard your sound, I was like, oh my God. Uh, and then of course, I was fortunate enough to know Louis Vega because I've known Louis for many many years, even before I was a DJ, before he was a DJ. We go far back,
Wow.
and yeah, I had spoken to Louis and I had told him about Boddhi Satva, and I think I got you guys connected and you guys started talking,
On
and
AIM, I
that's
remember
when
on
things
AIM.
took
Yep.
off.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember.
that's when things took off.
Yep.
And I remember you used to come to the States and you used to stay at my house when I had the house in Newark.
Yes,
And
sir.
then Louis had called you and said, let's go into the studio. And you went over at his place and then you started working on your albums.
Yep.
And it was good to see that because, when somebody has a talent or they have something to offer, why not just help push that person so they can, take it to where it needs to be heard to the masses, and
Absolutely.
I've always told you you had, not necessarily just your music, but your personality, your spirit, everything is so on point. And I guess that's why we remain friends after so many years.
Yes, sir.
We don't talk all the time, but when we do talk, we have very good conversations.
Always.
And I always enjoy talking to you, and vice versa. And
Absolutely.
I even attempted, to get you to come to the States a couple of times to play some parties, and
Yeah.
we're still, we still got a lot of years to, to play with. Uh,
Inshallah.
boat rides are coming up. Boat rides are coming up either this year or next year, but I'm going to jump back on board again and start my party again on the boat rides. And
Sounds good.
I'm throwing it out there. You're coming down. You're coming down to
Well,
do it.
you don't even have to say that twice. That goes
Yeah,
without
yeah.
even it wasn't even an answer to a question, and it's very interesting because I remember that you picked me. Was it in Brooklyn? You picked me. Where was it? The first time we met, I was staying at your place.
Yeah, I
Um,
picked you up at a friend's house in Brooklyn.
was it?
That was a,
Who was that? Was that? Wasn't it? I'm wondering. Wasn't it Ian Friday? No, 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 no. That's the time I stayed with Ian Friday was a different time.
no. You stayed with. I think it was an Airbnb or a share or something like that. But I believe the guy was a DJ as well. He was a DJ, and I remember I went to pick you up. But we got a nice little story behind that too. You want to share it?
Well, okay. Well, let's get into it. So, y'all gotta understand. So, for me, when I come to New York, I believe that's the first time. I'm. It was the first time I was coming, or second time. Can't remember, but I know it was one of the first times I was coming to New York. So,
Right.
we had linked up on AM. We would speak all the time, da da da. And then eventually, come and stay at my place. And that day you came to pick me up. It was an afternoon, late afternoon, I remember. And so I believe this person was dropping me off, or there was something going on. But as we were about to hug each other, because it felt like I mean, obviously we've been talking to, but we've known each other in a much different way. Like spiritually, we came like we've known each other before, and
Yes.
there was this massive electricity shock that came and actually scratched. I don't know if it scratched you or me, but it seems like the Orishas was like, "Yo, this is it. This is a big bro, little bro connection right there." It's like
Exactly.
and you were like, "Oh, it's validated," and it
And
was just
it was a pretty big scratch too.
it was a pretty big scratch indeed. You had like there was a little bit of blood coming out. So, and then you took me to your house with Tech. Oh my God, your dog Tech, man.
Yeah.
Oh
May you
man, this
rest in
dog.
peace.
May you rest in peace
Rest in
indeed. Such a beautiful dog, man. And that was my first time witnessing winter in New York. Like I had never witnessed winter in New York. It was crazy. You took me to there was this show with it was like a serious no, it was the logo was like the eye of Horus, and it was like this live recorded or pre-recorded show. You took me in. There's a picture of us actually outside that spot. Um,
Yes,
as there was Ray
that was in
Vasquez,
that was
Deuce
in Newark.
Martinez, Newark, yeah,
In Newark. I forgot the name of the place, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, actually, I still have that picture myself.
yeah, man, and that was it, man. You took me around. I mean, you looked after me, his family, and I remember there was this night Deuce came. We had like dinner. Was just always just good, and you can throw down a meal, bro. Oh man, Papa looking cook. Oh man.
Which leads me to where I'm at now. You know, I,
So now
I've always been a foodie. Yeah.
I can testify to that. Your food is oh my god! I remember you would put down a meal and a half, and you would have like I still remember you had the table set up, and then you had the DJ booth in front of the window, and then that's where you played me
Right,
that you
right.
played that Slavery Days joints. You played me all these classics. You actually like
Mm,
burn music on. Oh man,
yeah.
oh, we would play records and you would just educate me and we would have good food and just conversations and man, man, I get goosebumps and chills just talking about this era, man. It was pivotal in shaping my ear and just me as a man as well. It was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, welcome,
Yeah.
beloved kindred. Welcome indeed. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Um, what was, as you say, you're a foodie. So now, so we're skipping a couple of years and we fast forwarding to you moving to Puerto Rico. How was that move for you, and what was that transition like from you working at the
At
was it
Circle Line.
Pier? Yeah, exactly, and Circle Line, and then your new business as an entrepreneur. Like take us there, man.
Well, uh, I was at
Sister
Circle
Kiara.
Line. I was at Circle Line for actually 25 years. And what happens is, I was the director of event planning. And when I started working at Circle Line, it was basically I was renting out boats for like corporate schools, alumni, churches, and nothing really with dance parties. And I actually introduced my bosses to dance parties. I took a couple of my bosses to a few clubs so they can get an idea. And I says, well, we can do these on the boat.
Hmm.
And they gave me the project and they says, well, let's give it a crack and see what happens. And that's when we go back to the David Mancuso thing when we did the boat ride with David Mancuso. He was one of the guest DJs. And you had a huge amount of DJs that played. You had Kenny Carpenter, you had Andre Collins, you had Louis that played, you had David Mancuso that played, Danny Crivet played. It's you name it. Everybody basically was hired to play on these boats. And once my bosses started seeing what was taking place, it was peaceful. There were no fights. Everybody would
Mhm.
drink, dance,
Yeah.
have a good time. Then I started moving into renting out the boats. Instead of for the company events, then we started renting out the boats. And that's when all these boat rides started, kicking in. The first test that we did was the River Ocean Party that I used to do with Louis. We used to do it yearly on one of these boat rides. And then after River Ocean, then you had 718 came on board. All the major
718
parties in
is
New York.
Danny Krivitz's event, right?
That was Danny Krivitz and Benny Soto. Then you had all these, all the other organizations that would come in and do boat rides. Then at that point, I met up with a gentleman by the name of Benoit Shah. And Benoit, I actually contracted him to do boat rides, but with some of the top DJs. It's more like the progressive new underground type of dance party.
Okay.
And those parties, of course, your bosses want to see revenue being generated. So they were very lucrative. They made pretty good money. There were never any problems. And we continue on. Actually, right before I left my job, my predecessor took over, and he just ran with it, and they're doing pretty good. And this is something that was totally unheard of because no other boat company was doing this in New York City. And Circle Line actually built new boats customized for dance parties. They made 3 levels. They put a stage on the boat, and
so it became a viable business for them to build an actual cater for that.
Absolutely. Actually, they built 7 boats, the same model, which is 3 levels, and these boats used to hold 600 people. So the parties were pretty intense.
Right before COVID, right?
And hopefully, it'll continue this year, if not next year. See what happens. I know I'm going to throw mines again, but I won't do it until it's safe enough to have parties. And like I said, mark the calendar. You're coming down.
You already know, man. You already know. Exactly. As I said, we don't even have to stutter about it. It's.
Actually, I did. The last party I did was I had Rocco as my guest. And also,
that one. You wanted me to be there as well. You wanted me to be there for that party as well. We couldn't make it work. Yeah.
Right. And then Yogi from Toronto came in, and they were my guest DJs. That was an intense party. That was really good. The guys rocked it. They rocked it. It was a sold out situation too. So and then actually when I was planning for the next party, that's when I had called you. And then all of a sudden, COVID kicked in, and it ruined everything for everybody.
Yeah, it did. So, but you actually moved right before COVID.
Yeah, I moved actually right before COVID. When you have like a knot in your stomach, but something's just not right. I says, okay, now it's time to make my move. So at that point, I gathered all my coins together, and I moved out here with a brother, and we opened up a cafe, and we're doing breakfast and lunch. And then, of course, we're doing videos and music, from back home, introducing the music to people in Puerto Rico. So they're listening to some of this stuff. It's like, what the hell is that? But they're getting the swing of it. You see people, they come in and they're nodding their head or they're stomping their feet, and it's cool.
Beautiful.
It's cool.
And what's the name of the spot?
I'm sorry?
What's the name of the spot? What's the name of the venue of your cafe?
Oh, it's called Post Cafe.
Post Cafe.
It's called Post.
You already know. If you go to
Cafe.
Puerto Rico, you gotta go to Post Cafe.
No, actually, quite a few people have come down and visited. Antonio Ocasio was one of the first persons that came down, and everybody comes to Puerto Rico. So people that come to Puerto Rico that I know, they're like, "Oh, we're coming by." I just had a friend last week. Brian came down with his wife, and we sat outside because you can't come inside the venue. And they ate and we chit chatted. It was good. It's
Nice.
good to see them. Yeah.
How was how
So
was the potential of the island as far as you said they're not necessarily accustomed to the sound, but do you think that in some way the Afro Latin infusion into this house sounds uh, helps maybe the people out there kind of like connect with it in some way or
well, let me just tell you what my plans were. Last September,
hmm
I was already working on something. I was working on the San Juan International Resort. I was going to do one of those weekend getaways, and
hmm
I was taking over the hotel. I got the room rates, I got the food pricing and airline pricing. The whole package was put together. And then
wow.
lo and behold, what happened? COVID kicked in, and I had to cancel everything. My next step was actually booking the talent to come down, and it didn't happen. But the opportunity is still there, and I think it's a fantastic idea because, like I said, who doesn't come to Puerto Rico? And then if you're going to bring what we have back
hmm
home to the island, I think it's definitely a treat. It's a treat for
100%.
everybody, and I don't see anybody that wouldn't want to do it. That wouldn't want to come down on the island, on the beach, and the music. It was going to be a pool party, and food was similar to what they do in Mexico. With
It was the
Mikasa.
Mikasa, yeah.
It
Big
was
shout
going
out
to
to
be
Jules and everyone
yeah,
else.
it was yeah, it was going to be something similar. Well, that same format.
Format, yeah.
But the talent was going to be, I was going to call in, you and Manu and
The
Joe,
whole
and I was
clan, the
going to
whole
call
clan.
in people. I was at that point of doing the actual bookings, and everything just went just like that, you know.
So, but now
Well, we'll see what happens.
talking about the this new venture of yours, um, with this whole pandemic hitting us so hard, you were very well inspired to start this business, and I believe y'all managed to keep your heads above the water and maintain, activities, right?
Kind of losing you.
You
Sorry.
losing me? Hold on. Let me check what's going on with the sound. I was saying that with with actually the can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, is with the actual pandemic hitting us worldwide, right? Y'all were very well inspired to start the business, but did you manage to keep heads above water and business rolling? As this whole thing unfolded, now we're about a good year and a half in. Um,
Right.
Business is still going on. I'm hoping. Food is always in need, right? So
It's always in demand.
in
Exactly.
demand, exactement.
Well, what happens was there's a lot of businesses that went out. They went out of business
Yeah.
because of the financial situation. Uh, what happens was I had bought the cafe outright. I own it, so I'm not renting from anybody. So all I got to do is pay my taxes at the end of the year, and I'm good.
And that's it. Yeah.
So when the pandemic first hit, I would say in March is when everything closed down. They didn't want people out on the street. They didn't want businesses open, so stayed closed for I'd say a good 4 months.
Okay.
Then they started opening up, allowing businesses to open, but not allowing people into the business. You can either order or you can have the food delivered. So even up to today, we're still delivering food or people ordering their food, for takeout. So I was fortunate enough to say that we did pretty good. We're still doing pretty good. It's a lot of
Give
work,
thanks.
but we're still doing pretty. Yeah,
Those are
still
early
doing good.
mornings and late nights.
Early morning. You're talking about 4 in the morning. You wake up and close by 2, and you prepare the next day. And I open up four days a week. I don't do the full 5 days a week.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
You
At
know.
least you get yourself a little bit of rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the good
What's
thing about where it's at too, I'm in a college town. Okay, where it's all
okay?
college kids.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But now that
That's
there's no school, yeah, you're just depending on. It's inside an office building, a doctor's office building. So yeah, I have my captive audience right there.
good. So at least you secured,
Yeah,
you secured the bank.
yeah, absolutely. Most important. I sometimes I think and I say, if I was still in New York, what would I be doing? How would I survive? I know a lot of people that went under. It's unfortunately. I'm just hoping that we can, things go back to some sort of normal where people can start, making money and going back to work. And yeah, especially like with DJs. There's some DJs that depended on the music, that they can't travel, they can't work. It's just unfortunate, you know. And
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It is. I mean, myself, I am one of those guys, but I think
yeah,
that one of the good things that this pandemic brought, if you want to look at the bright side of things, is that it actually forced those of us who are determined and resilient enough to look into new opportunities and sort of
absolutely,
like carve new avenues uh, that could possibly bring some income, but it actually requires a solid mindset and resilience, really. But I see a lot of sisters and brothers in the music game that are just like, yeah. I don't
yeah,
think a
yeah.
lot of them will actually still be there when this whole thing comes back to some sort of normalcy. It's sad. It's really
Well,
sad.
it's funny too. I threw on Facebook. Could you imagine what it's going to be like when things do open up? The intensity of the
I don't
people
know. I don't know,
of
man. I
going
can't even
back to the
imagine.
clubs. That
Do,
is
do,
going to be. I think like every party is going to be banging. You know.
you know what? I was actually thinking that it wouldn't be the case, but recently they opened up in Belgium bars and terrace, um, and literally last weekend was like crazy. The police had to come to
Really.
so many different areas of the cities because people would just not give a fuck. They would just like remove their mask and just hug and just
Yeah. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just this explosion of joy in people, even no nobody people not even knowing each other but just hugging each other. Like this
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
contact was
Well, that's the scary part. That's the scary part. You know. It's like people are just dying to get back together and hug and meet each other and do things together as a family.
yeah. I want to talk about Omi Tutu
Okay.
and Crossroads.
Okay.
Tell us about Omi Tutu and Crossroads. Like what's going on with the label? What's going on with the party? Like break it us
Well,
down for us.
actually,
Break it down for us, please. I'm sorry.
Omi Tutu actually is the record label that it's a small independent record label that I opened up, and I started releasing my material on that label. Uh, I would say there are a few tracks on there, stuff that I produced. I also have a couple of things that other people produce that's on my label as well.
Hmm.
It's still there, and the good thing about moving to Puerto Rico also and being in the situation that I'm in, it gives me more time to be creative in the studio.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm working on an album. There's an album that's in the works. It's taking its time, but you got to take your time with that kind of stuff. You just can't jump in and just release anything. It has to. There's a certain sound that you have to be happy with. That's you. Okay. If I
Absolutely.
feel that what I created is coming out into that song, then I'm happy with it. I just don't
Mm.
want to release the first thing that comes to mind, and yeah, I'm sure like everybody else too, they have to be satisfied, yeah, with
Yeah, makes
what
sense.
is what is produced. Yeah. As far as Crossroads, Crossroads is the party end of what I do. It's a party that I created a few years ago back in New York City. Uh, when I play at other people's party, that's my label, my stamp. It's Crossroads. So when I do my boat parties as well, it's a Crossroads boat ride. So it's just
Indeed.
it's the staple of the party.
What's the spiritual connection to all of it?
Wow,
Let's
the
get into it. I
spirit,
told you we are
the
playing here. We're going
the
deep.
spirit, the spiritual connection. I say the music is the spiritual connection. Okay, because when you can have people coming into your party and enjoying themselves and hugging and kissing and crying and basically every releasing all the emotions on the dance floor,
Yeah.
that's a spiritual connection for me, and that's why I call it crossroads, because all the crossroads are coming together and they're meeting at the
Hmm.
crossroad. Right, so that was the purpose of naming it Crossroads. And it's the crowds that come. I'm fortunate enough to say that some of the people that come to my party, the dancers, are very religious. They're very spiritual. They come in, they enjoy themselves, and it's just the energy.
I
The
say they're
energy.
religious. Are they religious in the concept of coming in regularly, or religious in the actual form of actually, religion and on
Well, of course, you
some.
get you get a lot of people that are into the religion and they do come. Okay, and I've seen some stuff on the dance floor that would just blow you away. Okay, I've seen people
Sure.
go to another place.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah. Okay. We've seen that. It's
I've seen
crazy.
that lately. I've been having a lot of drummers coming to my parties. They're playing live drums. There's one brother in New York. Actually, he's a babalao, and he comes with his bata. And the energy that this guy releases on that dance floor is just unbelievable. Okay, and I've seen to the point where you're in the party, but when this guy starts playing, he sort of like pulls them in with his energy, and you just see
Indeed.
them go off in front of the drums. I've seen people throw themselves. I've seen people jumping in the air. I've just seen it all, you know. And music has a lot to do. Spiritually has a lot to do with music. As you know, the drum is
Hmm.
used in ceremonies, uh, religious ceremonies, and in clubs, people were starting to, you know, bring that bring that feeling. And it's all about, like I said, coming in and just forgetting about all your worries, all your fears, and just releasing.
I want to elaborate a little bit more on that because, as a personal story that I am very happy to share here, because you were very pivotal in opening my senses to Ifa, Yoruba, and the spirited sounds, which for many is very much considered as something scary, something almost diabolical because they don't understand what it is,
Right.
and they have been exposed to um, well, the kind of information that will lead them to believe, or actually cliches that will lead them to believe that it's the devil's music,
Right.
and better yet, these practices and these religious ancient African religions. are obviously not worthy of any sort of respect and consideration, whereas it seems as though it's very much part of the culture, for example, in New York, and how all the producers tend to all be connected to, if I in some way, shape, or form. There's also different, obediences and circles, in all that. Maybe you can explain better, but and certainly you can explain better. But I remember when you took me for the first time at a Botanica,
Mm,
um, and actually, you offered me my first Obatala beats,
yep.
and it was a very powerful experience. I still remember you offered me this agua de cologne. You just took me under your wing and sort of like introduced me to this new spectrum of possibilities and realities as far as understanding the music. And the reason why I speak so openly about this is because I think that there's there's not enough demystification about that, and it's rightfully so. I would say guarded to be preserved from any outside negative influences. But I think that um, there's no reason to be ashamed of who we are and what we are, and the beauty of what we're doing. I think transpires beyond any considerations. And that was a bit of a long statement, but I think I want to I want I want to get you to maybe speak a little bit more on that actual mystique with the drums. How come this spirited rhythm, and what do we mean by spirited rhythm? Why is that such an intrinsically connected energy with the music that we do, that makes it such a contagious kind of
Right.
energy that everybody gets drawn to?
Right.
Sorry, a bit long
Well,
question, but it's not. You
no,
feel me.
no, no, no. Uh, let's just say that it's come a long way. The religion has come a long way. A lot of people are starting to understand it a little bit more, opposed to what it was. Let's say when I first started going out, you never heard anything about, you know, uh, santeria, drumming. You never heard of any of that stuff. And now it's sort of like in the forefront. A lot of people do understand it. Of course, you have some people that don't understand it, that would, you know, come to a party and say, "Oh, this is for crazy people" or something like that. But more and more people are starting to be in tune with what's going on as far as the religion is concerned. Uh, the drumming. I don't know if you ever been to ceremonies uh, where drums play a big part in the religion on
I've seen
bringing down.
documentaries and on YouTube, but I've never been to one physically. No.
Right. Well, the next time you come down, I'll take you to one so you can experience that.
With
Really
pleasure.
intense. Uh, and what it does, it cools down the spirits, or it cools down the saint itself. Someone that's crowned, when that actual song is played for that one particular saint that person's crowned, it calls that person's uh, saint down, and you invoke uh, the spirit or the saint itself. And I've seen that actually take place in clubs a couple of times. And some people say that it's kind of sacrilegious to do that at a club, but then yet some people, yeah, they do it because they feel it, and they're just
Hmm.
releasing. Yeah, they're just releasing it. But as I said, at my parties, I've been seeing a lot of that more and more, and it just brings the right energy. It's all peace, harmony, love, and that's
Yeah.
what you want. That's what you want. That's what it's all about. You know.
It's very much, to explain maybe even deeper to people. It's very much, it's earthly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not earthly in a manner of saying that it's resonating at a low frequency. Not at all. It's it's just nature. It's the true unleashing and tapping into this immense power of nature and
Exactly.
this Orula's creation, right? And Orula, which stands
Exactly.
for God, right? And it's like that's what it is. You're tapping into all things divine because you are a reflection of that divinity, and you just need to identify, as you said, your crown. But like, explain maybe a little bit more though, because I think that it's so important for people to understand. And the reason where I'm trying to go is because, especially with this whole pandemic, you're seeing a lot of like, little documentaries. Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of documentaries about, there's satanic this and people worshiping the devil, this and that and the other. And unfortunately, um, obviously, there's always going to be a positive and negative frequency to anything and everything, right? It's like
Right.
in this particular case, because we're tapping into the spirited realm, which is invisible and which is actually very much spirited in its essence. It's quick to shortcut, even though there are people who are using these forces for the
For the
wrong.
wrong thing. Right. Right.
That's not what we're doing, obviously. But I think it's
Right.
also it's important for people to understand. That's why I wanted you to explain a little bit more, because this really is important for people to understand, not to get it twisted. Music is a
Right.
profoundly, as Fela Kuti said, music is a spiritual thing. You should never play with music.
Right. Right. Like you should not play with spirits or saints.
I'll say exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, like you said, in everything, there's a good, but people tend to, not everybody, to use it as bad. Okay, so it's really just the individual. And like I said, when it comes back to the dancing and the spirituality, and dancing and getting together, uh, it's all for a good reason. And those that frown upon it don't understand it. Okay, but if they did understand what was going on, it would be embraced. So that's the whole thing with, as far as, clubbing and going to dancing and, stuff like that. It's like you have to understand, like anything else in life, you have to understand it, because if you don't understand it, then you're just basically going to shy away from it, or you're going to criticize it.
Deep and true.
Hmm.
I still remember, man, that day you took me to that botanica. It was just it was an experience. I had people, y'all gotta understand about. Okay, okay. Can you explain what is a botanica, so that, because a lot of people don't understand what it is or may not know what it is.
Botanica is a store that you go to where you buy supplies, or you buy things that you need. Uh, like, let's say, for example, baños in English, it's a bath. It's sort of like perfumes and uh, plants and things that you need sort of to do cleansings. Uh, you can also buy, say, for example, soup tureens, which are the casings where a saint lives. So that's as you get further into the religion, you receive your santos, you get your soup tureens, and your santos live inside the soup tureens. You can buy beads, you can buy cacaria, which I'm sure you know what that is, the little white chalk that you use to do cleansing.
Yes.
Uh, Anything that you need for religious purposes, you can go into Botanica and get it. You can buy music, you can buy clothing, you can buy the beads, you can buy uh,
The
your guerreros.
oils. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
The
can
guerreros.
buy
Yeah.
anything that you need. You go to a Botanica, and that's where you would find it. Yeah.
What's the difference between Yoruba, Ifa, Santeria, Candomblé, Voodoo? Like, people mix it up, and
Right.
there's so many misconceptions. according to your knowledge and understanding, can you please shed a little bit of light
Well,
on that?
Santeria is what it's called in the Hispanic community. I'm from Cuba. It's called Santeria. The Yoruba, I believe it's from
Nigeria.
Africa, right?
Hmm.
Nigeria. Ifa, that is well, I'm sure you're familiar with that as well. Uh, Ifa is a step above, a step above. That's the best that I can tell you about it. It's the best I can
Candomblé.
really. Yeah, Condomplé. That's in Brazil. That's what it's called in Brazil. Now they practice it as well, but it's totally different. Okay, in Santeria, you receive your principal saints plus your
Hmm.
crown. I believe in Brazil, you receive one santo, which is your crown, and all the others you get them as time goes on. But in Santeria, you receive them all, at one point. The main, like Yamaya, Chuno, Atala, Chango, you get your guerreros before that.
Hmm.
Uh, Olokun, you get Ochosi, Ogun. Those are all santos that you receive. In Brazil, I believe you receive just one at uh, at a ceremony, and as time goes on, as I said, you receive the rest.
This goes to explain why, obviously beyond these practices, we say music is a spiritual thing. It's a very profoundly spiritual thing.
Yes, yes. Well,
It's not something you play with.
no one would ever learn everything within the religion, okay? Because it's just an ongoing process. You just keep learning and learning and learning and learning. There's no one particular person that knows it all. Okay, you're always learning something. Uh, it's the best. That's the best that I can explain that. Yeah.
Another thing that impressed me a lot with the religion is the openness. There's women, homosexuals. I mean, there is no limitations as to who can become a priest. I
No,
believe
not at all.
there
Not
are
at all.
maybe certain rituals that cannot be practiced by one or the other. If I'm not wrong, but this is something that really impressed me the first time I was exposed to it. I was like, oh wow, this person is a lesbian or is gay or whatever, and they
Right.
are
Right.
actually like in the religion, and they actually are held in regard and respected.
Right.
Women are actually held in regard and respected, and they can actually be, and they are, very, very, very influential within the practice and the religion and elsewhere. There's this sense of always sort of like, there's this exclusion going on in most other, religious approaches, which is something that really went. That's also something that helped me tap into my Pan Africanism and really decide to embrace that path as well, because it really reflected a calling that my soul or my heart had for all these years as a kid, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I always had this connection. And you obviously, you're initiated, you saw that, and automatically
Absolutely.
you recognize that
Absolutely.
in me. You're like, oh, you're Batala, I'm certain. And obviously when we went through the whole process, it was
Right.
confirmed. But it's very interesting that the moment, it's almost like the moment the ancestors, the angels, whatever you want to call it, decide that you have got to embrace that path. There's no
Right.
way you can run away from it.
No, absolutely not.
And it can be a
Absolutely
rude
not.
awakening. If the more you fight it, the awakening and the whole thing can be very, very, very painful.
Absolutely. Well, going back to some of the things that people shouldn't do, as you mentioned, like homosexuals and women, and there's certain things that people aren't supposed to do, but I've seen it. Okay, they say that gay people aren't supposed to be paleros. I've seen it. Okay, They say that women aren't supposed to be babalaos, or gay people aren't supposed to be babalaos. I've seen it, and it really depends on the people itself. The religion has changed in so many ways. You know, it's changed in so many ways from its original uh, practice.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was fortunate enough to have my godfather, may he rest in peace, he just passed away. I was fortunate enough to have him as a godfather because he's been in the religion for over 50 something years. Okay, and what he practiced was the old tradition, and he embedded that in me. So that's the way I understand it. So sometimes I go places and I see people doing certain things, and it's like, yeah, not to start any trouble, I just keep my mouth quiet. But in his case, he would actually go in and say, tumba eso means drop that because you're doing it wrong. He was just bold in that sense. So I got to understand, about the religion because of him, the old traditional way. You know, but like I said, the religion has changed in like so many different ways. People just change it. They reinterpret it. I guess to their comfortability. You know.
But don't you think that's a good thing in a way? With that, I mean, by changing or by adapting it or modernizing it, did it lost its essence, or it actually probably even reached a different realm and maybe even got strengthened to a certain extent?
Uh,
Depend from which angle you look at it.
uh, when it all boils down to, okay, is whatever your spirits are telling you,
Mm.
that's what you follow. Okay, you follow your spirits. Okay, because they'll guide you. Okay,
Hmm.
they're not going to tell you to do something else and it's wrong. Just go, with your spirits.
Very good advice.
Hmm.
Very, very, very.
Like everything else in life. Everything else
Yeah,
in life. Listen. They always say, listen to your gut, but listen to that voice. You know,
hundred
behind
percent.
you. They're not gonna. They're not gonna guide you wrong.
You know, it's interesting. The other day, I was actually telling this story to a sister that's in the chat right now. That's probably watching us if she's still here and around. Sister Kiara. Well, I said a couple of weeks,
Okay.
not a couple of months ago, I had this voice telling me, "Don't take the car today." I was supposed to go get some groceries, and nah, don't take the car today. And as a flash, I had a vision of something off happening. Accident, something wrong. I was
Right.
like, okay, I'll listen. I could have taken the car. Maybe nothing would have happened. But I have learned the hard way so many times that if you don't listen to that voice, and if you don't sometimes pay attention to this little, just that piece of information, it's very subtle. You've got to be really in tune with yourself, though, and paying attention. If you don't listen, sometimes off shit can happen to you along the way. So I was like, I've learned to now. When they say don't do it, there's no practical explanation. I'm not gonna do it. Oh, but why not?
Right.
Like, come on, like I don't understand. Why would you do this? What? No, no, no.
Hmm.
Doesn't feel right. Well, what you mean? Don't need to explain. I don't need to explain myself anymore. I just feel
Exactly.
it doesn't work for me. When deep
Right.
inside, it's actually because you've just paid attention to that voice inside you. Some people could say it's your gut feeling, it's your sixth sense, or whatever you want to call it. But you gotta listen to it.
Hmm. Oh, well, when you get messages like that, you should listen to it. There's people that don't, and unfortunately, whatever happens, happens. But like I said, your spirits will never lead you wrong. Never will.
You gotta listen.
And I know you listen to that message too, right?
Ooh-wee. Loud and clear. The few times I did not listen when that voice was telling me, don't do this, don't do that, and I had not listened, the
Right.
outcome was usually not good.
And you
Not
pay,
good.
and exactly, exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, and the good thing is that there's room for mistake because we're humans, so we are not, none of us are perfect, of course.
No, of
But
course.
there's this sense of like, there's room for mistakes, but there are certain mistakes that you might not want to do because there's probably no way back from that particular experience that might affect you in a way that's just not on point.
Right, right. We're all human, and sometimes you're like, I want to do it anyway, and you do it. But then yet you see what the outcome is. Yeah.
You've been told.
I've made tons and tons of mistakes. And even up to today, I still make mistakes. But you know what? I listen a little bit more and I start taking things a little bit more serious, and things are where they're at. You know, I can't complain because I think that what I've accomplished was phenomenal, and it's all because I listened. You know, it's all because I listened.
It's amazing because I'm actually
Yeah.
even gonna add to what you said. Same thing, like as I told you about this voice. You know, the other day there was some because I'm into this cryptocurrencies, the NFTs, all these new technologies. I'm really, really, really tapping deep into that as carving new opportunities of creating stream of incomes and just long term investment and stuff. And so there was this one particular uh, opportunity where that particular crypto was about to get this pump, as they say, right? So it was about to pumped up, and I invested right at that time just a little something, and
Hmm.
I doubled what I and but I actually paid. That voice just told me like, just put it there.
Right.
Maybe it's my sixth sense, maybe it's just my logic. Call it what you want. Boom, and that allowed me to look after some other sorts of expenses. It's really amazing when you really start to resonate truly with yourself and with it's instantaneous. It's there's it's like a divine connection with something that's just much higher than you. That's just
Right.
guiding you.
Right. Well, but that's why they call them guides. Guía protectores in Spanish. Your protectors. Okay, they're there for a reason, and it's up to you to embrace them and listen to them and move forward. You know, and
Profound.
I always told you, even from day one,
Hmm.
listen to your messages because both of you are going to uh, go places and do things that you never imagined that you would ever do. And I know you're on track. I know you're on track because you're doing a lot of amazing things. Music is just one of the outlets, but there's other things that are in store for you, and it's just a matter of you reaching for them.
Amen to that.
I've always told you. I've always told you that. Yeah.
You did, and it's as you said that I recall these conversations that we had in Newark at your place, and
Yeah.
just many deep conversations that we've had. Just
Yeah.
resonating and resonating and reasoning, sorry, and allowing me to lay this message um, uh, be presented to me, in the form that it was at the time. And it's interesting as time goes by, you realize that the way things unfold when you really are meant to be doing certain things, and you, as you said, listen, it all makes sense eventually. It may not make sense before it happens. It may not make
Right.
sense because but in other words, there's no structure to it. There's no straight line, right? It's just like, it's just, it goes
Like,
everywhere. But then
exactly.
eventually, boom,
You landed.
And it's like, how did it happen? And sometimes it's a bit crazy because you feel like, I don't know if you've had that feeling, but for example, when you've accomplished that one specific action and you were excited about it before it happened, and when it comes through and you're like, am I really happy? And it actually was something you really wanted, you really was looking forward to, but it doesn't seem to be bringing you any happiness. What do you think is that? Is it a lack? Can you hear me?
You're kind of breaking up. Sorry,
Breaking up? That's all good.
a little bit.
Well, this is part of the live. This is can you hear me? 1 2 1 2. Check check check. Is it better now? Is it better? No.
Still cutting in and out. Still cutting in and out.
Family, forgive us. This is the.
There you go.
It happens. Here we go. Good. All right.
There you go. Gotcha.
Where did you lose me?
That whole section you was talking about.
Oh God, I was inspired. Basically, I was saying, isn't it interesting when sometimes you want something so much, you want to achieve something, and then you achieve it, and you don't collect the actual joy and satisfaction you thought you were going to have. What is that according to your experience? Is it, yeah, what is that?
That's because it's like your brain is telling you one thing, but then yet your spirits are telling you another. You know? And it's up to you to choose. You know? Sometimes we want something so bad that we do it, that we neglect the fact that, you know, you're giving messages or you're giving signs, you know, in a different way. That's the best that I can explain it. Because, like I said, Boddhi, I have made tons and tons and tons of mistakes. That's what life is all about. Life is all about, living and learning. Because you had a bad experience doesn't necessarily mean that it's totally bad. What it was a learning experience.
100%.
Okay? And you'd learn from that experience. I have, and I'm sure you have just as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you said, we learn all the time.
Absolutely.
But the important is to actually learn and not say that you learn when you know that deep inside you've not learned a damn thing about what you just experienced, which I think is more often than not what people try to do. They want to sound like they're reasoning, but they actually are still trapped into this frequency or realm of thought process of not willing to detach themselves from matter, I guess, and try to deal a little bit more with ethereal, with spirit. That harmony is really hard to keep at times.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, like I said, always listen. Always got to listen.
See, these are the wise words. You didn't have to say more. You just said, just listen. You know, if it was somebody else, they would have elaborated. No, he just said, just listen. This is actually. And sorry, go ahead.
That's your key. Okay, your key is listen.
Very, very deep. We don't listen enough, and that's true.
Nope.
Especially in those times of global pandemic, people are trapped in their home and they cannot really leave. And I have a friend of mine. She's been a friend for years, like 10 plus years. Love her like my sister. And she is trapped in this negative things where it's never negative thoughts, always thinking about what she's lacking instead of focusing on what she's having abundantly, which is a solid health,
right?
Which is a roof on top of her head, which is food, which is a healthy family. I mean, just the basics. And I know for this consumerist world, it's not much. But the truth is that, as you said, listen. Y'all don't want to listen because y'all being disturbed by the noise around.
Right.
Understandably
Right.
so, we need distraction. But yo, man, there will be more sanity if people were actually able to listen and truly. And beyond listening, do you think there's a part of forgiving as well? Because I think a lot of people blame themselves for mistakes or for things that may have painted their life or made them look at their life in a way that feels as if they have failed. Is there such a thing as a failure according to you?
Uh, like I said, I don't. Wow, it's that's kind of deep. Uh, Failure, like I
Going deep?
said, failure. Uh, I would say I always go back to a learning experience. Okay, let's say, for example, you put your hand in the snake pit. You're gonna get bit. Okay, after a while, you keep putting your hand in that snake pit. You're gonna keep getting bit. After a while, you're gonna be like, "Let me not do that." There's nothing wrong with failure because you always attempt to do things. If you don't attempt, you don't know what's for you and what's not for you. Okay. Uh, I'm trying to look for an example. Uh, let's just say, for example, if someone just goes every day and they're like, not focusing on doing things or bettering themselves or bettering things, uh, you never know what's for you unless you go out there and try it. Okay. Say,
Hmm.
for example, God, I'm trying to pick the right example, but not, a step in the mud. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever, man. As you said, there's no such thing as failure, so let's
Nah,
fail gloriously.
there's no such thing as failure. I just find I for myself I find everything as a learning experience. That's just the way I look at things. Okay, I've done things that I thought I would never ever do in my life, and I never knew it was for me until I executed it. Okay, prime example: moving to Puerto Rico. I never fathomed the idea of moving to Puerto Rico. Okay, but an opportunity came up, and I basically looked at everything around me, and I sort of analyzed everything that was, financial, my living quarters, everything. And an opportunity came up, and I jumped at it. If I didn't jump at it, where would I have been? Back in my same old situation or rut, I guess you would say. You know, Same situation. It's like you always got to go out there and you got to reach for things. If you don't reach for things, you never know what's for you and what's not for you. So if you fail at something, I think it's a good thing. Okay,
You learn.
but you just move on to the next, yeah, the next
I
straw.
agree.
Let's say you're grasping at straws. Put that one down, grab for another one, and try something different. You know,
There's a
like
luxury in failing, I guess.
yeah. Well, same thing with music. I started off, in the music industry as a dancer. And all of a sudden my interest was piqued by music, playing music, producing music. I never thought that I'd be able to produce music, but you know what? I jumped in there and I started playing around, and things happened.
Hmm.
So, like I said, you never know what's for you unless you go for it.
That that requires courage.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Like they say, cojones.
cojones, balls.
Exactly. Exactly.
What about love?
That is. hmm, Listen. Listen. Observe. Everything has to go through here, and it has to register here. You know, has to
Why?
register. Huh?
Why?
Why? Because not everything is the same. Not all situations are the same. Not all people are the same. You basically have to look for uh, what stimulates you, or what piques your interest, or what makes you happy. Sometimes something can make you happy, but it's not good for you. And that's where the good old word listen comes in.
What about uh, is it that it's not, well, in some cases, yes, it is not good for you. What about timing? Isn't it
Timing?
also, isn't it all about also timing? Well, besides the things that are not good for you, sometimes isn't it a question of could be perfect, but the timing is not right?
Right, right. Well, I think that when you kick back and you let it happen and it comes to you, you know when it's right. Okay? Because let's say, for example, you know, a gorgeous, gorgeous woman, with that's got it together and everything, and you like it, it piques your interest, and you want to be with that person, but then yet the chemistry and the timing of meeting that person is not right, maybe because of your present situation, whatever it may be, or that person's present situation. You know, timing has a lot to do with it.
I agree. So listening, going for it. What about guarding your spirit? How does one guard their spirit?
How does one guard their spirit?
Yeah.
How does one guard their spirit? Let's see. That's deep. Protect it. Watch yourself, your surroundings. You know, that's for me, what I do is I basically kick back and I just stay away from certain things that I know that aren't good for me, and things that are good for me, I basically, you sort of lean towards that, or I accept it. But if you see that something's not right for you, back off. Yeah, back off, really. You know. Like I said, timing has a lot to do as far as relationships, friendships, love, all the same.
Very true. How do you what's your outlook on death?
On who?
Death.
Oh, we're all gonna go there. you
But
know.
what's your understanding of it? Or yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it, I
see
think
another way to put it.
I think it's a higher plane. A lot of people are afraid of it. I think it's basically the next level of your spirit to move into. Uh, I remember there was a time that I was, petrified. Oh my God, I'm going to die, or something's going to happen. And, you're always thinking about that, but I guess as you get older, you accept it a little bit more, and I think it's just a higher plane to where our spirits and our soul go to. And like I said, you got some people that are petrified of it, and it's all life. You have to accept it. You really do. You know? Especially as you get older, you think about it more.
Do you think about it as an ending, or do you think about it as just another
A new beginning.
realm, a new beginning?
A new beginning. Yeah, absolutely. What else you got?
I have one that's I think could be probably what is very much related to what we've been speaking about, but it's it's a bit deep. Well, everything has been deep so far, but it really is about this world that we're in, and it's very very fast evolution and progress. How do you see?
But
You cannot hear me?
breaking up again. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It happens sometimes. But it's the first time it's happening on the show, but it can happen. Can you hear me now? Better,
Oh,
better. 1 2 1 2. Check check
yeah,
check. Yeah. All right.
gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
if you were so base, I guess right now where you are, because my question it's kind of an answer, but I would then say, according to your experience making that move, jumping on that. Can you hear me? 1 2.
No, you kind of breaking up again.
Snap.
It could be where I'm at too.
Yeah, it could be, but can you hear me now? 1 2 1 2. Check check check. 1 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
better. Well,
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
story,
Gotcha.
long question short. How, according to your experience, does one achieve um, happiness in loneliness?
I'm kind of all I caught was happiness and loneliness. I'm sorry.
How do you achieve happiness in loneliness?
How do you achieve happiness and loneliness?
In
Was
loneliness,
that?
from a
Oh,
perspective of the you obviously connected with the spiritual practice.
right. Loving yourself. Gotta love yourself. Gotta love yourself to be happy.
Beautiful family.
Makes sense.
This is
Makes
it.
sense.
This is it. This is it. This is exactly it. It makes absolute sense, and I want to say that it helps perfectly because it really is about
I'm
loving.
I'm I'm losing you again.
You
Sorry.
can't hear me? Oh, sorry about that. Well, as I'm fixing the
I'm
sound for
losing
you,
you.
um,
Okay.
yeah, as I was saying, this is a perfect way to kind of wrap up this conversation with Big Papa Lou,
Mm-hmm.
because you just said it beautifully, and I love that we managed to close this conversation on that note.
Well, absolutely. If you don't love
Love yourself.
yourself, forget it. You're not gonna be happy. You're not gonna be happy.
On these words, family, This was Monday Quality Talks. Any last words you may have for us, Papalu? Maybe you want to share some actuality, some news of what's coming up next. Post Cafe, of course, in Puerto Rico. If you go to Puerto Rico, go check out Post Cafe. But what else? What besides the album? Anything new coming up? Cooking?
Well, well, actually, I'm heading to Miami in a couple of weeks. There's two pool parties that I'm doing down there. I agreed to do them because they're outdoor. I wouldn't do indoor.
I understand.
So I'm taking that chance. I think we live with this pandemic long enough. We basically know what to guard ourselves from. Uh, I went and I got the shot. I don't know if you got the shot, but I got the
Hmm?
shot.
Well, I caught the COVID, so supposedly
Which
I'm not yet eligible for the shots, but it's coming, I guess.
Okay, which is like that's half the battle. You still got to be cautious. But all I want to say is I just wish that everybody be careful and just hold on a little longer because this thing isn't going to be forever. We had a pandemic many, many, many years ago, and they got through it. And I just want to say the same for everybody else is, just hang in there a little longer. You go stir crazy and everything, but eventually there's going to be a breakthrough and we'll go back to what we knew as normal. Sometimes you got to say maybe this was sort of like a sign or lesson for us to kick back a little bit and appreciate the things in life. Uh, and then it's a lesson, and then you can just move forward once it's all. Who would ever think that we lived through a pandemic where everything was completely shut down? You can't go nowhere, you can't do anything. Our lives have changed completely,
Absolutely.
and like I said, it's not going to be out there forever. So I just wish that everybody would be a little bit more patient, do the right thing. uh, there's a lot of things that are going on that are sad, and I guess it's just people not being able to accept it and move with it, as it goes.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I'm just saying I just wish people would hang in there a little bit longer and do the right thing. If you can get a shot, get a shot. If you have, doubts about your shot, now I don't see any other way around it because if you don't get a shot, that virus can still be out there. Some people will be protected that got the shot. But if you don't have the shot, how are you not going to get affected if you're walking around and you want to fit in with everybody else that has sort of like a protection? I just don't
Yeah.
see it. Look at the baseball game. They opened up what was it? Yankee Stadium. They're going to have a section there for people that got vaccinated, and then another section for people that haven't got vaccinated. So is that the way we're going to live life?
Discrimination. Yeah,
So
it's a bit crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy, but your life is at stake. So try to do the right thing, make the right decision. As far as what's going on, like I said, I have South Beach is coming up in a couple of weeks, and then I'm going to head to Jersey because I have to take care of some stuff back home, and then I'll head back here and back to work. Then, of course, actually one of the tracks off the album just came out recently, which was that Madre that was released on Nervous Records.
All right.
So actually, I'm working. I don't know if you know Jose Burgos, but I've been working with Jose Burgos lately.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we have a couple of tracks that we're working on together as well. Jose is like mad cool people, very professional. Uh, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. And
Wonderful, man.
yeah, him and I are working together on that. And other than that, just taking life as it comes. You know.
Is your music available on Spotify and all these other platforms, or just Traxos?
I think it's Traxos. The ones that are on Nervous, I believe they're on all platforms.
You
on
should
all
get your
platforms.
label everywhere, man. Because I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of the viewers of the show are on Spotify and Tidal and all these platforms. So I
right,
just put
right,
the link for your track source here on YouTube and Facebook for those who want to
right,
get some of
right,
your music. But a lot of
right.
people stream here, so it would be dope to get your catalog there, man.
Well, I know for a fact that that track that I did, I believe by Tia Holt, that's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on Beatport, it's on all the major platforms. And
Beautiful,
actually, it's on my website as well. You purchase it directly off my website. And
nice.
like I said, when it comes to the other labels, like I've been putting a lot of stuff out on Nervous Records. He's been doing a lot of promotions and picking up my tracks. So
Beautiful.
that's out on TrackSource, and I think he has other platforms that it's on just as well.
Well,
But when it
family.
comes to the album, I haven't decided what we're gonna do with the album as of yet. So as we go along, we'll
You
figure
figure
that
it
out.
out.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
gonna
Papa Lou,
listen.
I have had the immense pleasure to have you here, and wow, man, it was necessary to just sit down and smoke a
Absolutely,
cigar from a distance until we actually get to
absolutely,
sit down in the same room and just start reasoning on life and just everything as we used to. But this definitely felt as close
absolutely,
as it got back then when we were together,
exactly,
and
exactly.
such a beautiful energy. Family, thank you very much for watching. This was Monday Quality Talks number 25 with Papa Louis Lou Gorbea, indeed. Please make sure you give him a follow on social networks. Indeed, you know it. I've put Lou's Facebook here in the description section of this video. But also make sure you go stream the music, show some love. Um, and again, if you're in Puerto Rico, you want to go to Pulse Cafe and support a local business by one of the most
Absolutely.
humble and loving and caring men in this industry and human that I've had the honor to cross paths with and to call a big brother, Big Papa Lou. And on these words, family, this is our cue. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and see you this Friday for another session of Quarantine Grooves. I'm going to be dropping some Lou Gorbea indeed. Rest assured. Because before I let him go, I'm going to ask him to send me a WeTransfer with some of the latest hits that he's done.
Uh,
So be tuned in next Friday.
what?
I'm going to be
I'm
having you
sorry. What?
send. I'm going to ask you to send me a WeTransfer with all your latest joints so that I can drop them on my
Oh,
show.
absolutely. De- definitely, definitely.
Family, have a great rest of your week.
Expected this week. Absolutely. Thank
Definitely.
you, brother.
Blessings.
All right. Blessings.